Kia ora, my name is Robbie and I'm another white man behind a desk and we are coming to you live from the Third Eye! That's right, a bar set up by a couple of Mensa members who thought the main problem with Wellington was that it didn't have enough craft beer. But we're not here to talk about beer, guys. We're here to talk about TV. Specifically, TVNZ. The one worthless thing still communally owned by the New Zealand people that isn't Auckland City. And in Auckland, we would have said Wellington. Now, TVNZ has long been the victim of mixed messages from their dumb, cruel owners. You, me, and the rest of the New Zealand public. Back in the 90s, National told TVNZ they were a state-owned enterprise, and they better act like it, damn it. And that meant making as much money as possible through reality TV, discount American syndications, and a shitload of ads. A combination more popular and unhelpful than the National Party itself. And then came the Labour government, who saw TVNZ as a noble and valiant broadcaster, ready to save the fragile, decaying minds of New Zealanders. So in 2003, they gave TVNZ a charter and $15 million a year to implement it. The charter obliged TVNZ to do things like provide in-depth coverage and analysis of news and current affairs and contribute to a sense of citizenship and a bunch of other boring shit there's no commercial demand for because humans are fundamentally bad. Now, as you might have guessed, this new situation where TVNZ would run commercial stuff to earn money for the government, which the government would then use to pay TVNZ to run less commercial stuff, that system made things pretty confusing for TVNZ. And as it turns out, doing two contradictory things at once is difficult, like juggling, while also trying to convince anyone to have sex with you. And then, I'm sorry, jugglers. And then, I apologize. Then, National came back and scrapped the charter because obligations like having a significant Māori voice and promoting diversity and observing a code of ethics when advertising to children were apparently insurmountable obstacles for a commercial broadcaster to overcome. In the TVNZ Amendment Act, National set down TVNZ's new kaupapa in a mere 2 lines. All they had to do now was provide content from New Zealand and the rest of the world that was enjoyed by New Zealanders. That's right. Ever since the new legislation came into effect in 2011, when TVNZ runs a show that New Zealanders don't enjoy, it is against the law. Which means that just like I've been saying for years, Filthy Rich wasn't just bad, it was illegal. Now, without a charter, TVNZ went back to its singular focus of returning enormous commercial dividends to the government, like last year's payout of $9 million. And if you think that's a large amount of money, you probably also think the highest prize on a scratchy is winning another scratchy. Now, in TVNZ's defense, it is quite difficult to make money in TV because it's a dying medium that nobody watches anymore. And it certainly doesn't help when bullies like Disney trick you into signing content deals that leave you $12 million worse off. Fuck you, mouse! Soon enough, it was Labour's turn again. But this time, they pretty much left TVNZ alone, with former Labour Broadcasting Minister Steve Māori saying, "Commercial instincts are so entrenched at TVNZ that it could not adapt to a public broadcasting focus." And what I think he meant by that was, these guys have not got the slightest idea what it means to give back. When I tried to explain it to them, one of them yelled, "Hey, I bet this nerd's got some money," and beat me up and stole my wallet. And just like that, the Labour Party gave up on TVNZ. The right had won. It had been a grand attempt to put diverse, informative, educational content into the world, and it had all gone tits up. Or in the case of much of their new programming, tits out. Now, it was time for the left wing. That's my favorite joke, and I'm sorry, it's staying in. It was time for the left wing to forget about the mythical TV channel of their dreams and turn their focus to funding digital content. So enthusiastically, Labour immediately started to brag about how they were going to turn RNZ into a TV channel, which is the broadcasting equivalent of announcing a plan to hook up your Tesla to a brand new diesel engine. Luckily for everyone, that idea was put out of its misery when Claire Curran had a secret meeting that was somehow discovered at a large popular busy cafe in the heart of the Wellington CBD. The $38 million Labour had promised for RNZ Plus and NZ On Air during the election campaign was quietly downsized to $15 million and fuck all cents. But just because it's a bad idea for RNZ to become a TV channel, that doesn't mean it shouldn't get shitloads of money. Some of which they should feel free to give to me. Because unlike TV, radio isn't dying. And RNZ has a massive market share and a popular website. Executives from other news companies practically vomited with relief when RNZ started giving away its news content for them to use. Something TVNZ would never do because they're the competition. RNZ is actually helping other media outlets stay alive and fostering media diversity. You know, like a public broadcaster should. Back in 2015, we made a video about money and the media, and we were hopeful we might find a market solution to funding public interest journalism. Well, advertising doesn't really work anymore, and paywalls typically don't either. RNZ and New Zealand On Air, they're not perfect, but on the whole, they work. All of which brings us back to the initial question, why the fuck do we still own TVNZ, okay? It doesn't make us much money, and it doesn't do any public service broadcasting that the other channels don't also do. The only people really benefiting from TVNZ being owned by the government are the bosses of TVNZ, who seem to like being a commercial company with the world's most forgiving shareholders. Which has given us a fantastic idea. Does anybody here work in government at all? Anybody here potentially work? If you could just come up, that would be, thank you so much. Thank you, appreciate it. Now if you could give me that 70 cents. Fantastic, let's have a huge round of applause for someone. Congratulations, New Zealand. You are now the majority shareholder of White Man Behind a Desk. Which is terrible news for you and great news for us. We don't have any assets apart from 70 cents, we won't make you any money, and we absolutely refuse to do any public good ever again. But we can promise you this. Out of all of the public broadcasting decisions you've ever made, this wasn't the worst.